Hello and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It is April the 14th of 2026 and I am Nick and this is Quinn.
That's me. And Nick, who is Bloodwood?
Who's it's Bloody Wood.
Oh.
It's a band that I like. They're from India and they do metal. So
that explains the elephant.
Yes. And also the pun. So
oh, because Bollywood. Oh, that's clever. That's why I can't be in music, because I'm not clever enough to come up with that.
Yeah, they've got some very fun little puns in some of their promotional stuff. Like one of their early tours was called Raj Against the Machine.
That's a pretty good one. I like that.
Every now and again, like this is one of the few bands where I would like to actually get some earplugs and go to a concert, which I've never been to a metal concert before as much as I listen to it. And I keep on trying to find a time when they'll be nearby, and it's like, oh, I can't go to that. So,
do they tour?
I'll figure it out eventually, though.
Do they tour the U.S.?
They have toured the U.S. Yeah,
okay.
They tour all over the place. They've done collaborations with Baby Metal and other stuff. So they're starting to get big. Anyway, yes, I like this band. Anyway, that's all.
Yeah.
And you're wearing a Rose Apothecary shirt.
Yeah, I've gotten several compliments on it today I guess not realizing that Schitt's Creek is a lot more of a universal show than I thought it was. I was like, really? Because this was like a Canadian TV show thing that eventually went to Netflix, but whatever, the clips play, I guess, on TikTok, so people see it that way.
Every third conversation I have with my dad, he asks if I've watched Schitt's Creek. So
it's one of those shows that I hesitate to recommend, not because it's not good, but I know that I took time to get into it. Like, I don't think it's a show that's immediately hysterical. It's not like it's The Office or Parks and Rec where you're like the first couple seasons, you're like, or whatever. You're like, I just don't really like vibe into this. Like, it took a while to find its footing. It just took a minute before I was like, oh, this is really funny. Like, it's just not in the way you expect it. But as it, got further and further along,
you kind of got to tune into it.
Yeah. Especially when the idea is like, oh, here's a rich family who now have to, schlum it in a motel, and you're like, well, good, fuck them or whatever. But then you watch it and you're like, well, they are just little idiots in their own little ways. But yeah, definitely check it out, I guess, at some point. For the listeners, you're probably like, hey, why wasn't there a weekly manga recap last week? And that is because Nick was gone and I had to learn about quadratic equations. Have you the quadratic formula, Nick? Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes. I do.
What's the quadratic formula?
Let's see. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared plus 4ac all over 2a, I think it is.
Minus 4ac over 2a, but yeah.
Minus 4ac. Okay.
Yeah. And the way we learned it is not to say negative b, it's to say opposite b, because if it's a negative number in b, then you'll get the opposite, etc. But yeah, opposite b plus minus, it sucks.
Plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, yes. Why? Quinn, do you know why I know that? So
I'm excited to find out.
A long time ago, I won't tell you how young I was when I learned it because then you'll be mad at me. But so I had to not only memorize the quadratic equation, but I had to memorize how to write it out. As in how to say it in English. I had to know how to write that out. And we took a quiz that was just that, which was just writing the formula on the top of the page and then writing out in plain English opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And I got points taken off, Quinn, because I didn't include commas in that.
You fool. Why wouldn't you include commas for this regularly said thing that's written out in vernacular English all the time?
when I said that to my parents, my dad was like, "That's the entire point of knowing what math equations mean, is so that you don't have to write them out." So,
Yeah, that sounds awful. I'm glad I don't have to do that. I imagine some people listening are like, Quinn, but that's high school math. And yes, if you don't go to school in a while and you forget some things, you have to go back and take those courses again. So before I can take a math course that matters, I have to do the quadratic equation, and it sucks. I hate this. It's a misery. It took me 12 hours to do my homework last week. I cannot begin to stress how much I hate this course.
it wasn't until several years ago that I understood what the actual point of "Are you smarter than a fifth grader" was, which is, it's like, because you look at it, it's like, oh, how could these people not know these stupid fucking things, But the entire point of it is that, like, oh no, we learn stuff in school that we don't use in life. It's just like weird facts that just don't get brought up unless you end up going into a field that happens to use those things frequently. So there's all these dates from history and stuff that I don't remember because I didn't become a historian or any kind of researcher in that realm. And just like yourself, I'm sure that there are plenty of people who have not used math a day in their lives since they got out of high school. That's just how it goes. So,
yeah. I'm figuring maybe I should force myself to enter a field where I have to use the quadratic equation all the time now to make like a use of this. So I need some job that makes all the education I've learned over the years very important. So something where I need to use the quadratic equation all the time, and I have to know the state capitals.
Okay.
So is there some kind of job where I like land mechs in North Dakota or something like that?
And where in North Dakota would that be, Quinn?
Boise. All right, Nick, let's talk about... Damn.
Here. I don't know why I remember that.
The Dakotas are all... They're both the same and not existent at the same time in my mind.
Correct.
Yeah.
We do have manga to talk about. You're correct.
Yeah, we do have a lot.
We are going to start things off as we normally do with Ichi the Witch, where last time we met a couple of new characters, Quinn, and they're boys, which is a little bit shocking. They are specifically magic keepers. Basically, who watches the watchmen of the witching world? Who witches the witch women? So we pick up after they have recently arrested somebody who was impersonating Descaris for some reason. With 78th Hunt, chance meetings are fate. So, yes, our two magic keepers, Higurashi and Boxster. What a weird contrast in those names. They spot the real Descaris with Team Descaris in the crowd. So they're like, hey, what are you doing? Like letting this crook run around here instead of taking care of your own. And Higurashi tries to like get one over on Descaris by saying, it's like, oh yeah, come on, what are you, some sort of misgifted witch? And Descaris is to be like, yes, I am indeed everyone's favorite uber talented badass Descaris, the world treasure adored by all and a living breathing miracle. It's like, she doesn't process the sarcasm because it was used as a sarcastic compliment.
Yeah, she just heard a compliment and she's like, yes, I am incredible, thank you.
You didn't go far enough with your sarcasm, obviously. Boxster introduced himself and says, I want you to call me Star, but everyone calls me Boxy instead. Well, why would you tell them that?
Yeah, in the terms of nicknames between the two, I definitely like Boxy more than Star. But wait, wasn't Boxy that fake YouTube girl? She was like, come on, Nick, you have to remember her. She was
YouTube girl?
Yeah, she was like the epitome of like that Tumblr energy girl from like the mid 2000s. She's like, my name's Boxy. And then she, never mind. This is wasted on you, Nick. Somebody out there is going to know Boxy and they're going to get this reference and they're going to be like, I remember her. She was fake. Because that was the thing. It turns out she was just like an actress or something like that, I believe.
So she was pretending to be cringe, basically, but it was a character that she was doing.
Yeah, which I think is just a way, like, guys, everything I've done on the internet has also been ironic as well. I'm not cringe either.
I'm
wink, nudge,
actually a
nudge.
professional actor. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, uh, that happens. Deskris immediately puts some distance between herself and Higurashi because he's got, his magic sword thingies on his back. But Ichi, on the other hand, goes right up to him and is like, "That's an interesting sword you got, and you got like pitch black blades. Did it suck that magic up before?" And he's just really curious about it. Uh, Higurashi recognizes Ichi from his description and is like, "Oh, you're Ichi the Witch." And at that point, we cut away from our title drop to check in with Monogold, who is in the middle of a conference call with the commissioner of the Magic Keepers, whose name is Chun. He has what is that called? That winter cap thingy?
Dumb hat, I think.
A dumb hat?
Yeah, that's how you usually describe it when you see Taichi wearing it. You're like that dumb hat that Taichi wears.
Well, this guy has the nerve to, actually like wear one that fits his head. So good on him. He actually knows how to shop at a hat store.
Yeah. Shanka, I think, is the name of those hats.
Yeah, it is. Yes, that is correct. Yes. So, no, this guy gets a pass. Like we give him a little ticket, and he gets to go on his way. Taichi, shoot on sight.
Okay.
He has violated the hat laws to an excessive degree.
It's interesting. This guy works for you because I feel like this is actually a really bad look for him. He looks very boxy right now, and not the
No,
YouTuber.
That's Boxster.
Move on.
So, what Chun has just requested of Monogold is for Ichi to become a member of the Magic Keepers. And Monogold is clearly not caught off guard by this, and she's trying to like maintain decorum and not act like she's really upset about it. She's like, "Oh, well, but this wasn't brought up to be on our agenda for this call. We were just supposed to go over recent events and stuff." And Chun says, "Well, I don't actually think that we're going to come into agreement on the whole world hater magic thing. That's what you guys are supposed to be worrying about. You keep on requesting our assistance on it, and no, that's not what we do. We're magic keepers. We police humans who abuse magic, and that's it. You're talking about a magic. That's your domain. You're going to do that." So that's basically it.
I do think, because we're not going to be discussing last week's chapters really, but parts of it are going to be relevant because we haven't gotten to speak them into this. I do think it was an interesting move to establish a world where women are the only people who can use magic, a thing that quite literally places them in like a class above everyone else. It's been established that it's a miracle Ichi can use magic, and Gokuraku had to literally mangle his body into pieces to be able to kind of compete with this. And then we establish, but there's still an organization.
We have tools. We have tools that do it. Yeah.
There's still
swords.
There's still an organization of men that these women have to answer to. Don't worry. This isn't an insane, unrelatable world. There is still an organization of men kind of above them, or at least at their equal level, that they do have to confer with when they make decisions.
They have cannons that launch aprons and steal the women's shoes, so that that's how you keep them in line. Obviously, come on, yeah. I don't know how I feel about this yet, but it definitely has the bad gut reaction. I am there with you on that. And we do get like a full establishment. It's like, oh yeah, witches, like, yes, they are all female, except with just the exception of Ichi. But the Magic Keepers are on par with full-fledged witches somehow. It sort of seems to negate the whole point of the entire organization, the world.
This is what happens when your manga premise runs long enough. You're like, all right, well, remember those rules we established early on? They don't give us a whole lot of room to create new characters. So,
yeah, and apparently, like, most of the cases of like, oh, someone's abusing magic, it's like there is actually apparently like a division within the Witches Association that deals with that. But really bad cases of women getting uppity, that's when you call the men in.
yeah.
And yeah. So Chun reiterates, like, we don't get involved with magic hunts. And Monogold's like, yeah, I get that, but it's not really going to do you much good if the world hater magic, destroys the world. So maybe you should like get on board with this. He's a common enemy and stuff. No, not gonna do that.
Don't really see why.
No.
Doesn't make sense.
And his final word on it is, it's simple tradition. Like, that seems like a bad tradition, though. So Monogold says, like, okay, why do you want to recruit Ichi the Witch, who is, a magic hunter, and therefore you doing that would get you involved in the magic stuff? And Chun starts by saying, he's like, oh, because he's a man. And then he's like, I'm just kidding. We just want his ability, but I don't know. It's just
really coincidental and fortunate for us that he happens to be a man. Otherwise, we'd still be just as interested. But really, I mean,
he basically just says, like, look, Ichi's a really talented guy. We want him in our organization. Lots of people want Ichi. He's very powerful and talented. He's got super powerful magic on his side. Sure. But Monogold's like, oh, well, too bad, though. Ichi's away on a crucial mission. And Chun's like, oh, okay. And Monogold's like, yeah, he might not come back for over a month. And at that exact moment, Ichi comes in through the mirror to intrude on their conversation. And he is there with the Magic Keepers. And he and Higurashi are arm in arm. And he's like, hey, look, check it out, Monogold. I brought your guests. They're Magic Keepers. And apparently they're here to see you. And Chun's like, oh, hi, guys. And Monogold is upset that they've been brought straight here. And Ichi's like, they use these really interesting weapons and stuff, and this guy's got twin swords, and what's yours again, Boxy? 9-section whip. He's got a 9-section whip. So yeah, and Monogold's trying to get a hold of the conversation. Then Ichi spots something, he freezes up, and just as Gokuraku realizes that he's detected something wrong, Ichi launches into action and attacks one of the Magic Keepers behind Chun, gives him a big old kick. And this big guy with a scar on his face and big, long, wild hair starts blocking Ichi's blows. No one knows what's going on as they're changing strikes. And then eventually Ichi and the big guy stop, and Ichi grabs onto his head in this big bear hug and says, what are you doing here? It's been forever, Minakata. And Minakata, the masked guy who taught Ichi how to hunt and all that stuff in like the flashback in chapter 5 or something like that, is part of the Magic Keepers. I kind of thought he was dead, but nope, here he is.
It would make sense we'd bring him back. There haven't been like a lot of established characters like in people's lore that aren't dead. And you do eventually want people to be able to bring into relevance in the story. This is the only character I think we know really from Ichi's backstory. So, it doesn't surprise me that we see him again. And this is like a fine place for it. I do like how he's not like the head dude of the Magic Keepers Association or anything like that. Like he was a background character in that shot. And that's the one Ichi does. It's, fun to play with this idea and expectation. So I'm excited about that part of it.
Yeah. I like how you can see Minakata a whole lot in the background if you check further back in the chapter. It's just that he's so massive that his head keeps on getting cut off by the top of the panel because he's standing in the background and stuff. And it's always someone else is the focus, and so you don't actually see his face up until he and Ichi start fighting. So, it kind of keeps him out of focus as a result of that until the big reveal happens. So it was well done in that regard. And yeah, like you said, this is like the one part of the chapter that I'm actually pretty interested in, which is like, oh, cool, a character from Ichi's past. We can do some stuff with that. But this world building choice with this organization just feels weird. And jury's still out on it for me.
Yeah, I think I'd be able to accept it more if the new characters that were being introduced seemed more interesting. But they're all kind of meh, I guess. Like, they don't feel very inventive or unique in terms of design. Every time I see Higurashi, I just keep thinking of, like, that One Punch Man, like, who is this sassy lost child, meme. And Boxster, great name. It doesn't, he's just like a dude. Like, they don't really strike a particularly strong visual for me right off the top of things. And I hate Chen's design, Chun. I legit, this is where I'm the hat hater. I think that hat looks really awful on him, and it makes like just a terrible silhouette. But I think that also,
He needs a beard. I'm telling you.
honestly, that might help. Maybe it's the fact that like every one of these dudes feels like they're like in the pretty boy category.
This is like the K-pop boy band organization of this world.
Yeah, there was there's a, I don't know if it still exists or not. I think it might even be like a franchise, but there was like a gacha game that was Disney themed called Twisted Wonderland, where
There's an anime based on that now. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's like a whole franchise. Every one of the dudes in that was like the same level of pretty boy. Like they were all just variations of that, and that's kind of the energy I have here. There needs to be just someone to break up the monotony of suave pretty dudes here.
Literally, I thought that premise when I like read summaries is like, oh, that actually seems kind of like it might be kind of fun. And then I saw everyone's designs being the exact same, and I was like, no, I don't want to check it out. Then it's just all the same design.
Yeah, so one of those things. But still decent chapter. I'm excited for the Ichi and Minakata stuff, so that should be fun.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But now we move on to Blue Box, chapter 238, Being Like This. It's a match between Haruto and Taiki. Loser goes home because they are not going to be able to proceed into the finals of the Prefectural Qualifier. So they're face off against each other. We get a cover page of Ayame and Kyo doing something. They're both doing some sort of
doing
pose
this.
I don't know what it's supposed to be.
They're midway through that part of the Macarena where you get your hands behind your head. They haven't quite gotten to that point yet. They're en route to it, but the picture was taken at that point. So,
Interesting freeze frame choice.
Yeah.
Then. Yeah. So their friends and supporters are cheering both of them on.
Or they're being asked what their favorite shape of roof is, and they're both like triangular. That's my favorite when it's like that.
With a hole right in the center. I like the incomplete roof. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sunroof, right?
As they have.
Some other onlookers make note of Haruto because, of course, he's Saijikawa Yusa's younger brother. And as they're like, yeah, I'll bet Yusa's going to win this tournament, just immediately deciding that. And Haruto, of course, is still frustrated by this. He's still sick of his brother getting this constant attention. He's like, everyone keeps on saying that. Everyone keeps on saying my brother's just going to win. And it's like, okay, if you're saying that, just own it and stop giving him like shallow compliments and then being like, oh, that's just I'm encouraging that guy, like I'm okay with losing. Nothing's set in stone. People like you don't get to decide what the future holds, which good. It's not a bad attitude to have. We get a flashback to his training with Hyodo, where Hyodo asked him, like, what do you think strength is? And I love Haruto's initial response, which is, you sound like you're starting a speech from a shonen battle manga, which, yes, it does sound like that. But his answer is like, well, it's like how skilled you are, right? And Kyoto says, yeah, but sometimes you can't perform at like full strength because of your mental state. And that happens a lot to the guys around me. So it got me to think, maybe strength is the power to protect yourself, doing something because you want to and not because of whatever others think. So Shuji loves badminton, and he's been able to win because he just likes badminton. He doesn't get worked up about stuff. And you went to AMA because you can protect yourself there more than you can at Saijikawa, which I think that was a good decision. It's let you be stronger. But you hate yourself, the same person that you're trying to protect. And Haruto admits to himself privately that Yodo is correct, that he's like, I'm more prone to anger than other people, and I'm constantly losing every single time. All these ugly feelings well up inside me. And as he looks across the court at Taiki, who has having a volley with him, he thinks, If I were someone like this guy who feels frustration honestly, but keeps looking forward instead of listening to what others say, and was loved by people, he just, thinks of the possibility there. And Taiki scores a point on him at this point. But Haruto then thinks about Hina and, the advice that she gave him, which was like, hey, like the pain that you have, it can be kind of like its own kind of happiness too. And Haruto thinks, I finally saw the truth. If the alternative is easily giving up on everything and losing all this passion, maybe being like this isn't so bad after all. So he's self-actualizing. Hooray. It's a good and important thing to do with yourself.
Wasn't that like the big power-up in Prince of Tennis?
The
state of self-actualization or something like that?
The state of self-perfection, the very final power-up that allowed Echizen to go Super Saiyan was just going, oh, right, tennis is fun. And then he got to glow and get really good. And unbelievably, this explanation of like, yeah, Haruto just likes playing badminton, so like he doesn't have mental distractions and stuff, and that allows him to just like play his best, was a way better explanation than that. So
Blue Box retroactively making Prince of Tennis even better.
Yeah, sure.
Even though I said that, no, those were Nick's thoughts and sentiments.
Mm-hmm. Wait until one of these guys hits the shuttlecock so hard that it goes into the court of the net and splits in half. And lets them score a point.
Now, Nick, who gets the point if the birdie, the shuttlecock's like little rubber ball point goes on one side of the net, but the little wing part goes on the other side?
I don't know that, Quinn, which means I know just as little about badminton as oh gosh, I've forgotten his name, as Konomi knows about the rules of tennis. So oh my god. If you're curious, way back when we covered Prince of Tennis as a recommendation, I did a bonus audio recording, which was just all the rules violations that are in the manga, and that is a bonus thing that you can listen to on the Patreon. So there you go.
Yes.
It's like 7 minutes long, I think. Anyway, Taiki goes up for a smash, and then he fakes out Haruto and does a trick shot, which people are like, oh, isn't that like Haruto's specialty? And someone who is watching is like, oh, yeah, Taiki had Haruto teach him that after you guys like left the team, saying that to Nishida and Haruyu. And so, yeah, like we get a little shots of them like actually practicing together. And Haruto, reflects on the fact that like he also had to like get used to playing differently, and he admits like we've been influencing each other, and the parts that were influenced are elements that I, as someone who doesn't like myself much, can come to like, and maybe that's where it starts. And again, he thinks about a conversation he had with Hina where she wished him luck and then said like, hey, that thing you said about like anger being what fuels you, when I saw you in the gym, you looked like you were having a great time. And Haruto thinks to himself, before I knew it, I might have absorbed just a little bit of his straightforward energy. And we see, as we pull back, as the match seems very even between them, that Yusa is also watching the match with interest. And he reflects on when Haruto was a lot younger and was like going up to him and picking a fight, basically.
Yeah, this was a fun little chapter. It's not looking good for old Haruto. Usually if the tennis or the match in this series starts to really reflect on you, then it's probably not because you're going to have your hand raised in victory afterwards. So we shall see. Plus, I believe the score so far suggests that Taiki is in the lead, but we can, things might change. We'll see what happens next week, but I think it's a good little chapter to at least give us some more about Haruto's mindset.
Yeah. Haruyu, Kyo, and now Haruto. Yeah, it seems like whenever Taiki goes up against a teammate and they start to be like, let me think about my badminton career thus far. Usually it is a bad sign for them.
What was Chinatsu's friend?
Oh, I've forgotten it.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm blanking on her name, but I believe she was like the same sort of thing where we got some more focus on her right as she's about to lose, which makes sense.
Yes.
All
Okay.
Right. Spy Family, Yumika. That was her name.
There we go. Spy Family. So it's chapter 132. We check in on Anya at home with Frankie watching TV. Yeah, she's like, "Wow, that was great. I bet that Papa and Mama are going to be on the TV show that they went to the taping of soon." And Frank, of course, telling her like, "There's no way they're going to be."
He's like, "Sure they will, honey," thinking in his head, "That's not happening." Turns it on. And, oh, there's Mama.
There's Mama. And she's like, "Oh, she's being flirty with a stranger," because Yor is again like forced to be acting. And I love that even as soon as you turn the TV on, Yor as Bumblina is walking like a robot, very still. Yep. So the reshot finale of the series that terrorists hijacked the station for is going down. There's dialogue going off, and Frankie starts being a bit of an incel as he's watching it. It's not great. But you know, he's like, you know, why do women have to be like acting so opaque with people? Like, guys can't read their minds. Men aren't psychic. If we could read minds, maybe we could get women what they wanted. And Anya's like, are psychics popular?
Someone should show him what women want, because I haven't seen the movie, but I assume the lesson is Mel Gibson by the end learns that having psychic powers is actually a detriment and the government experiments on him. Or women have autonomy. One of the two. Something like that.
So the two main stars of the show, they embrace and stuff, and they go into, you know, like a door together to protect a flower shop or something like that. I like how they actually have to like have a wooden sign held up in the corner that says Finn, because they're doing this live. They call a wrap on things. We see, you know, some of the audience members reacting to stuff like, so Yor's co-worker got pretty emotional. Becky says, "I still prefer the diff route, but that had its moments." So, you know, she's apparently a major connoisseur of this show. And Frankie, meanwhile, calls out how crappy the dialogue when sets were. And Anya gives the best critique, which is, there wasn't any fighting, so it's boring. But that's it. The terrorists lift the lockdown, and they say to all the people who are acting as extras, like, you guys are free to leave. The police will probably want to ask you questions. A whole bunch of people are like, we're not going to give you up to the cops. We'll distract them while you get away. You were totally right about this whole thing. It was absolutely correct that you did this. The Minister of Broadcasting deserves to get executed. Lloyd's like, this is bad. They might start a revolution in here over this stupid soap opera. And the freaking leader of the terrorists shoots his gun in the air, knocks a spotlight off the ceiling, and then says, "No, we're terrorists. We've committed a criminal act. We staked our lives on this project. You guys can't jump on our bandwagon."
It's on one hand, I'm very glad that we're not spending too much more time with this, but this is also like a very unique world where there's absolutely no cajoling on the part of our heroes to get like a decisive ending for this. These terrorists were like, I came in, we took over the station, we made our new ending, we are going to jail. That is our trajectory. And I'm like, all right, I guess that, you know what? They came in with a plan, they executed it. So kind of admire that.
Yeah, they didn't execute anybody. So good. Yeah. So the police do come in.
Well, I mean, Yor was there. They could have executed one person as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, you mean Yuri?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Yuri.
Yuri spots one of the other, you know, members of the, like, you know, secret police and stuff gesturing to him. So he says, like, well, I've got to go. And he says to Yor, like, we're all safe now. So yeah. Yor is clearly worn out by the whole thing, and Lloyd tries to play, like, you know, his typical character around her, which is like, oh, what's wrong? You can stop being Bumblina now. But Yor actually like leans into him and like puts her face in his chest, and she confesses that she was really scared. And Lloyd's, you know, shocked by that, but he's thinking to himself like, "Oh, that was a lot for a civilian to go through." And he starts comforting her. Yuri, of course, jumps back in and is like, "Get your hands off my sister." You go back to that. But of course, like Yor was worried about herself, and she pounds on Lloyd's chest, which of course hurts him because again, she is very strong. And she calls back to the previous chapter when Lloyd interceded when the lead terrorist was pointing a gun at Yor. And she says, "What if you had been shot and killed? I was so scared that you would die. You've got to promise that you'll never do anything like that again." And she, looks up at him as she says this and only then realizes like how close they actually are. And then she, darts away. But she says, "If you died, what would happen to Anya?" And, Yuri's like, "Hey, he was trying to protect you." And Yor's like, "Well, he doesn't need to do that. And you don't need to do that either." And Lloyd tries to, play it off like, "It's okay. I wasn't going to die." And internally, he's like, that guy was not actually, like threatening me. He was not prepared to actually shoot anyone. He was just waving his gun around to be intimidating. But Yor
doesn't know that. Well, Yor doesn't know that he's a spy who could have handled himself. In her mind, she's like, "You're a psychologist. You could have been shot, or psychiatrist,
And Yor looks at him, and with an expression that Lloyd has never seen before, with like deep, vacant eyes, she says, "You would die. People die. They can die just like that." And that, takes Lloyd aback for a second. But then, Yuri jumps in and he's like, "Yeah, Lloyd Forger, people do die." Even little kids know that people die. But this gives both, Yuri and Lloyd something to reflect on because, like, Yuri remembers what Agent Chloe said about how, like, hey, like, if you don't protect yourself, no one's going to be around to protect Yor. And Lloyd remembers advice that he gave to Nightfall back during the tennis mission, which was a long ass time ago, and also lectures that he has gotten from the handler before about, hey, you can't just like assume that you're going to be okay. Don't overestimate or underestimate yourself. And Lloyd thinks that, hey, if a spy dies, that's the most foolish possible end because you leave behind this entire trail of evidence that could not only, sink their mission, it could sink their entire organization. And he thinks you've lost sight of yourself, Twilight. Do not become emotional. You must continue to make optimal decisions in a cold and objective fashion. And he thinks this as everyone is packed up and is finally leaving the studio. But then he realizes, wait, what do I mean emotional? What emotion am I even talking about? For the sake of my mission, I should have prioritized my own survival. But no, yours an essential component of Operation Strix. And we see this, string of like internal thoughts as he's, going back home, which constantly says like, this is all for the sake of my mission. I've got to be willing to sacrifice myself for my mission. But there's one tiny little thing in that, which is my family. It's like, oh, that's nice. But his thoughts are interrupted when he hears Anya's voice calling for him as she and Becky drive up in a massive armored vehicle from Becky's family's company. And so they jump out. Anya is like, "Stella Pretty Guardian is here to save you." She's got her Stella. She's got a magical girl save the day. And Lloyd's like,
"Leave those at home.
Leave your Stella at home." Anya is like, "What's going on here?" Then Yor gets a bunch of attention because people want to interview her because she was, playing Bumbleina in the broadcast. Yuri tries to act as her agent, basically, but Yor's just like, "No, let's just get in the vehicle and leave." There's a bit of, arguing between them, which I like. They're, Anya wants to know if the vehicle has a bazooka. which is an important question in my opinion. And then there's a funny little bit where, Becky's like, "Oh, Master Yor, you were so good," and Yuri's like, "You've a real eye for talent, little girl." And then Becky's like, "Why couldn't they put Lloyd on screen too? What, are you blind or something?" Immediately turns on her in one go. That is a 6-year-old that you're arguing with, Yuri. What? But yeah.
Do they still make bazookas?
I'm sure they do.
I don't care about the gum.
Quinn, I think that most people would be more interested to know if the bazooka bubblegum was being manufactured than if the bazooka guns were being manufactured.
No, the U.S. military does. Well, this is AI, so who knows? But according to the AI, the U.S. military does not use bazookas. Apparently, though, some other weapons are informally known as bazookas.
Well, like RPG launchers would be a type of bazooka, I would assume. So.
What is a bazooka?
Yeah, okay. This is important. Let's, okay. As they're getting set to go, Yor mutters to herself that playing a part is hard. And Lloyd just says, "You're right about that." And, yeah. So, more, like, stuff gradually pushing Lloyd and Yor together. Isn't that nice? That's the chapter.
Nick, did you know there was a Bay of Pigs and it was invaded?
Yes, I did know that.
And apparently,
is that one of the things that came up with from bazookas?
Yeah, it was used in, amongst other things, the Bay of Pigs invasion, the Portuguese colonial war, the Yom Kippur War, the Iran-Iraq War, and the first Indochina War.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Operation Vantage, which I don't know what that is, but they used it there.
Okay. Quinn, we have a new series as the batch that included Goner and Egg, Mage Next Door, and Hero Girl and Demon Lord Call It Quits. All 3 of those were canceled quite summarily, which means that we have 3 new series that are coming out. There was one that debuted last week, one that debuted this week, and one that's debuting next week. And so we're getting all those in a row. So this is chapter 1 of Drawn to the Fire, which is a basketball manga. And we all know how well sports manga have been doing in Shonen Jump this decade, so I've got high hopes for this series. I'm going to try not to go through this because it's actually like a really dense plot-wise manga. Things you need to know. Main character is called Keiki Mizuhara. He's a first year in high school and is a former quote-unquote basketball player. He played point guard. We see a flashback at the very beginning of the series where he was like drawn to his childhood female friend's quote-unquote radiance. So she's an incredibly talented basketball player. He is not intrinsically talented, though, as we find out that, he stopped playing basketball, whereas his friend Hanabi did not. And there was this recent interview that Hanabi did with another really talented basketball player that a lot of people are being like, "Oh, yeah, it looks like that she's like a couple with this super talented basketball star," which clearly, upsets Keiki. So definitely not, setting up like childhood friend romance of any kind at all whatsoever. Definitely not. Get a flashback of the 2 of them like meeting each other, getting to know each other. Why the reasons why Hanabi left such an impression on Keiki. And then she had to, go away because her family moved, and so she had to transfer schools. And so instead she said, "Hey, we're gonna see each other though. We'll both go to nationals, and that's where we'll get to see each other again." Because I guess like visiting's out of the question.
No.
But
look, they were like 12 when they made this, and from what I've learned from manga, 12-year-olds are incapable of making anything but the most grandiose gestures with so many rules that really don't need to be there. But that's how they communicate mostly. Like, it's never like, "I'll see you at school tomorrow." It's like, "We'll interact again once both of us have become president."
Yeah, what was the full promise in Bakuman? It was you'll become a successful mangaka, and I'll become a successful voice actress. And when your anime
When they make
debuts,
when they
I'll
make it.
voice the lead
Yep.
heroine, and then we'll get married.
Yep.
And we won't see each other before that at all. Only talking on the phone sometimes, and almost exclusively communicating via text.
Yep.
This is romantic.
That's how you build a relationship, Nick. You don't communicate whatsoever, and things just work out. Okay.
Let me tell you guys, as someone who has been married for several years, after being several years into a long distance relationship, yes, that's how it works.
Nick's like, yes, they nailed it. Bakuman.
That's exactly
that was the most accurate part of Bakuman.
God. I like how even when I had no romantic experience, I was like, this is bullshit.
This is wrong.
But even though they made that promise, unfortunately, Mizuhara was not able to keep it because he got his ass kicked in basketball when he came up against this really talented basketball player, Akane-banashi, who literally dunked on him and completely destroyed them in his third year of middle school. So Mizuhara's like, yeah, I can't do this. I can't get past that guy. I'm not fit for this. So, yep, all of his dreams are gone. And we even get this thing that indicates that we even get his box score, which I do appreciate. If a series is actually like gives you statistics and they make sense, it's like, okay, it seems like you kind of actually know your stuff, which is our loss was 95-44, and I scored 9 points and had 26 turnovers. It's like, yeah, that sounds really, really bad. And it's something that it's like, even if you don't know basketball, it's like, well, that number is way bigger than it should be. So that's fine.
No, Nick, it's like someone scored 2 touchdowns and had 17 interceptions. That's like a normal day.
In one game?
And to a certain point, you're like, stop giving him the
was
ball.
It Jameis Winston who was doing this? Only Buccaneers fans understand that joke.
Hey, he eventually played for another team. I think the command
the NFL.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, look, number 1 picks get a lot of rope, basically. But it turns out Natsu has also joined the same high school as Mizuhara, which Mizuhara, I appreciate that he has a trauma reaction that is also silly. So because he's like, what the hell? No. And then, Natsu comes over to him and is like, hey, I remember you. I would never forget those 26 turnovers. Mizuhara thinks that he's mocking him. And he's like, yeah, we're going to play basketball together now. He like tries to extend his hand, and Mizuhara's like, I'm not going to play basketball with you. He tries to run away. And Natsu tries to cut him off. Mizuhara, darts around him, like full on, like devilback ghosts him and runs away. And Natsu doesn't give up after that. Keeps on approaching him, be like, hey, why do you keep on lying about how you gave up basketball? He's like, I'm not lying. I gave up basketball. I was like, no, you didn't. And then, he's like trying to get him to basically join the basketball club any way that he possibly can. Like there's the rumors about him and Hina, and he's like, I'll tell you the truth about a relationship if you join the basketball club. Things keep on going like that. He keeps on getting haunted by the guy. Won't give up. And eventually we get a conversation between them finally. And Mizuhara says look, I'm not skilled enough. I've got no game. And Natsu says well, no, it's being passionate that really counts at basketball. And Mizuhara's like, well, I used to be passionate, but there was a point where I thought I was a prodigy, that I would get on the court and I would feel really, really good. I would be able to do these things that no one else could. And then I realized when I got to people who, were better than me at a level that I wasn't good enough at, that all my skill was thanks to just being around someone more talented, that Hana had just shown me how to be good. I thought I was glowing because there was someone glowing next to me. But Natsu says hey, look, Tachibana Hana told me all about you. And so in the conversation they had, she's still convinced he's going to make it to nationals and we're going to keep our promise. Mizuhara keeps his promises always.
Coincidentally, he didn't promise to do well in that middle school game, and that's why she just never looks up the stats.
No. The result of that conversation is that Natsu convinces Mizuhara to help out the basketball club not playing, but just like, hey, look, we are short on players. We need someone to keep score. Just come by the basketball game, the scrimmage game. So he does that, watches some of the game, and, like, yes, Natsu's really good. And it's like, but there's a foul. Somebody fouls out because this is that kind of game. And Natsu's like, oh, we can just like draw this guy in. And of course, it's like, hey, it was all part of the thing. Like to get Mizuhara involved and stuff. People try to get Mizuhara into the game, and Natsu says, like, look, if the reason why you don't want to play is more important than the reason you want to play, that's fine. But if it's the opposite, let's play some basketball. And when Mizuhara looks at him this time, he remembers the same way that Hana reached out to him when they were kids. And he just thinks to himself, they just like draw people in so easily. The big metaphor in this chapter is like a moth to flame, basically. And
yes.
We keep seeing hints of it over and over again. So Mizuhara joins the game, and basketball reference that I understand now after seeing multiple clips recommended to me. Mizuhara is like Jason Williams, Quinn. He's got the handles, and he's got the passes and the ball handling skills and stuff. So he's not gonna like dunk on you or get a whole bunch of scores in, but he does really cool crossovers and handles and passes and stuff. So Mizuhara starts to feel himself. He gets in, and we get something that is, a kind of cool reveal, which is that Natsu is like, he was in that round where he lost and he turned the ball over 26 times. He just kept on passing the ball to somewhere that his teammates would have had an open shot, and nobody could keep up with his passes. If every one of those passes that he made, someone were open, got the ball, and shot it, they would have actually won that game. Like, he even breaks down, like, it seems like, an insurmountable lead, but it actually wasn't. 26 turnovers instead of, 2 points each would have actually gotten them the win.
Now, Nick, is that a specialty of Jason Aldean or whoever you just said was a good basketball player?
Well, Jason Williams is infamously good at passing people the ball in the way that they liked to receive it. So
Now, is there a contemporary for the basketball references that I know, which are only two? It's the emo Jimmy Butler picture and then Air Bud. So was Air Bud good at passing?
Air Bud doesn't have hands, Quinn.
He scored so many points, though. What was Air Bud's box score? Air Bud box score.
I want to know if this exists.
According to the AV Club, there is a dry statistical analysis of what Air Bud did. The dog who sucked at basketball, though, according to them.
Oh, we're taking you down.
Yeah, take that, Air Bud, you dead dog. I mean, let's be real. That dog's definitely dead.
Golden Retriever in a movie from like 1999. Yeah. Oh, gosh. So, and as Natsu observes all this, he's basically like, admits like, he remembers the reflection or conversation that he had with Hana, which is that both of them were actually drawn to Mizuhara, like a bug drawn to the flame of a prodigy. And so, it's a fun little bit of irony where it's like, Mizuhara just thinks that like he was actually around these incredibly talented people, not realizing that he himself had his own talent. And we do get this cool sequence where he basically does this like vanishing drive where he looks like he's driving towards the basket. And then he holds up his hands in front of the guy defending him to show he doesn't have the ball anymore. Natsu comes up behind him and he dunks the ball. So, cool advancement. Things end on a high five between the two players. And we finally get the chapter title, which is Natsu and Keiki like bugs to a flame. And I will say, I don't know if the art in this series is going to be like the best, but I did actually grow to appreciate the build in this chapter, and by the end of it I was actually pretty invested in like, this is a well-paced story for this. Where it goes from here, I don't know. And also sports series, let's be real.
There's got one of them eventually, statistically speaking, one of them eventually has to be a success. This is a fantastic one shot. Like as like a 1-chapter story, it's incredible. It does the thing I always love a sports series does, where it shows you how the sport looks really, really cool, and our lead passing the ball and then it just getting dunked on in a big 2-page spread is really, really good. That said, I don't necessarily have high hopes for this series. I never really know what is going to make a sports series a success. So maybe this is the one that catches fire, but
hey, like a flame.
Yeah, like a firefly.
Will be drawn to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I do believe when bugs are drawn to like a fire, they usually die. So
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know if that's the perfect end of the analogy, but I like this series or this first chapter. So yeah, we shall see.
Yeah, even if we were not like covering this for the podcast, I think that this first chapter would have been enough for me to go, okay, I'll give it another couple chapters to see, if this one works out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, Hima-Ten.
More like
chapter number 86.
Hima 86.
Yeah, you got it.
There we go.
Yeah.
And honestly, the most concerning and significant of cliffhangers, the cat is...
The cat might be sick.
The cat might be sick. In a way that all cat owners were like, they should get that checked out. They should definitely take that cat in at this point, because this seems like a stress response.
That's a very big bald spot on that cat. At the very least, like there might be something going on where it's like, maybe the cat doesn't like being caged up all day whenever Himari has to go to freaking school and stuff. Yeah. Yep. So they had noticed that from looking at, the pet camera before. So Himari has Iamori over and is like, yeah, the vet's not open day after. I've got work after school. So I want him to get seen as soon as possible. Iamori asks like, hey, can Tsubone do it? And she's like, nope, she's busy with work. So they go, back to school and stuff, because they were only there to like, exchange like her lunch in the previous chapter. And so Iamori is like, hey, I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now, because something's gone wrong in Himari's personal life. And before, when that happened, like she would be able to like lean on me and have me help her out. But now we've kind of like drawn that line of like, I'm not supposed to be your house cleaner anymore. So he thinks like, should I like ask her if she wants me to help him? Should I ask her to if I should take Maro to the vet? So he's not sure about that. But eventually Himari just like turns and asks him on her own, because she's like, look, I've tried like contacting other people. So she's like, hey, can I just like hire you to take Mara to the vet? And like she shows him like the text on her phone so that she can ask him right there in class without like revealing that they have that kind of relationship and stuff. And she's like, hey, you said that until you officially quit that I could hire you for individual jobs and stuff. So Himari agrees to that. And he goes like to Himari's place later, and he's like relieved, because it's like, okay, professional boundary maintained. Don't need to worry about this being weird or anything like that. But he admits like he does want to help out, because like he's attached to the kitty too.
Sure,
he was there when she first got Maru, so sure. He gets into Himari's apartment, and he immediately is like, what's wrong with you, man?
He goes, it's so nostalgic. I'm like, dude, it has been maybe 2 weeks, if even.
They had him over for that lunch before too. Like,
what do you mean nostalgic? I understand you're still like a kid, so like your sense of nostalgia is kind of warped as it is, but like legit, dude, come on. You can't like come back to your grade school a week after you left and be like, it's so much smaller than I remember it. Like it doesn't work that way.
Maro is a dark-haired kitty, and so it's very concerning when the bald spot on him the grayscale matches his fur tone now, because he's been scratching at it. That means it's gotten all red and irritated, Quinn. That's bad. So yeah, Iamori's got to get Mara to the vet, and then he's like, okay, well, Himari said that your carrier is in her office, and then he starts reflecting on stuff that had bothered her and everything. He looks around her office, which is kind of really messy, and it's like, I haven't. Are you okay, Himari? Like your dust allergies and stuff. Your place is really messed up. And so he takes it upon himself to do some vacuuming because he can't freaking help himself. Presumably, he does that after he gets back. It seems. Himari gets back, and Iomori kind of like says like, "Oh yeah, I did some cleaning because I had some extra time." And he starts to like kind of almost say like, "It felt so nostalgic," and he's like, "Nah, nothing. That would just be weird to say." But so he reports that like, yeah, they're doing blood work. They don't really know what it is, but they said it's probably either allergy or stress. Quinn, what if he's stressing out because Iomori's not coming over anymore?
It could happen.
It could, yeah. We had to leave Ravi with my mom when we went on vacation, and we were both a little bit like, oh, we haven't like left him alone for this long before. My mom's great. She's raised cats and stuff. She's had them around her whole life. It was totally fine, but we were just totally like, how is he going to react? Is he going to think we abandoned him? Because he's been abandoned already and stuff. But it's all okay.
Was he excited when you came home?
He wanted to be fed when we got home.
That's usually how it goes.
So Himari starts to get, like on top of herself because she's like, maybe he's stressing out because I'm not cleaning enough and everything. But Iomori says like, I don't think that's it because like, look, I took a quick look around in the areas that you were okay with, and Himari starts to like get, really self-conscious. She's like, what if I left underwear around and stuff? And Himari's like, no, look. But he says like, well, look, your office is back to how it was before. And Himari's like, well, I don't let Maru in there, and it gets messy no matter what I do. And Himari's like, look, your living room's tidy. You missed the small stuff, but Maru's space is totally spotless. And he says, I think that's just so you probably, I'm the only one who would have noticed that like there are some areas that, yeah, you're not being very clean in, but when the places where it matters most, the places where Maru are, is you've been taking good care of him. This isn't your fault. So that's a nice little moment, honestly.
Mm.
But he does point out to her, like, look, you do need to have a new house cleaner. Like the reason you hired me in the first place is because you couldn't keep up with the housework while doing school and your job and everything. But of course, Himari's like, I don't want to do that and stuff. And, she's reluctant to make that parting and everything. Iomori says, look, this whole month is supposed to be to figure out stuff so that you can, like, get things in order when I'm not around. And Himari's like, I can't do that. And she says, I can't imagine having anyone as my house cleaner other than you. And she's getting really teary-eyed and upset. And she says, you just don't get it. But Iomori's like, look, I'm just worried about you. I'm worried if you're going to be able to, handle all of this. And Himari says, well, then don't think about the future. I'm glad you care about how I'm doing. But whatever happens in my life after you quit, that doesn't have anything to do with you anymore. And she points out, like, look, you decided you were going to tell Honoka. Why did you, like, even give me a month to do all this then? And Iomori thinks on this, finally, and he thinks, I felt like there was something holding me back. When I was Yoshino's house cleaner, I'd come over to a high school girl / CEO's house, do her housework and support her. It was my secret job. But now that I think about it, it felt like being her house husband was my work, and I valued this job more than any other. So how is that different from love? So Quinn, I've gotten the feeling recently that 2 series that we cover might be ending sooner than you think.
Yes, I think that we are rapidly approaching a conclusion for Hima-Ten, and I believe One Piece is definitely going to be ending within the next month or so.
There wasn't even a chapter this week.
A lot of stuff's going to really get truncated.
I guess, I mean, like if Emu is like showing up,
yeah,
like,
Emu
just has to punch him in the face. Bing!
Yeah, he's going to knock out Emu. Blackbeard's going to show up and be like, I don't want that smoke. And then they all bow to the king of the pirates. And then Sanji's going to be like, hey, Is that the old blue over there? Next to the boon. And then it's pretty much over at that point.
Mihawk's arms are going to fall off, and he's going to be like, well, I guess Zoro's the best swordsman now.
That fight actually happens off screen. We don't see that fight. And then Nami's just like, map of the world. That was stupid. I'm just going to make $1 billion.
And he was just going to be like, I got to go.
I was present at Elbath. That is basically as important as doing a cool thing here. So, Brave Warrior of the Sea. And something about Jinbei.
And someone's going to be like, shouldn't we like talk to Laboon? And Brooke's going to go, who? Yeah. So it really feels like, I don't know if it's going to be like the next round of cuts. It could be though, like, because that'd be, about like 3 months from now. It could wrap up in that time.
Yeah, I could definitely. It definitely feels like it is probably coming close to ending, maybe around chapter 100 or so, or within this year. So, yeah, we shall see. Or we're getting pranked and we don't realize it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Kinato's Magic, chapter 11. Kinato fights back.
It's Lene, Nick.
Lene's in this chapter.
I can't wait for her to do something really funny.
Oh man, she talks about Kinato and does nothing. Look, even if she had like a golden moment, Quinn, at this point I would be like, no, it's too late. You had your chance for months. You can't be doing this now that you're canceled. Because let's be real.
They don't know, but they might know.
So the whole thing that is being brought up is that, she's asked, I guess apropos of nothing, is like, oh, why can't Kinato use his magic on himself? When we were little, I got attacked by animals in the mountains, and Kinato used his magic on himself so he could save me, but he couldn't control it, so he got injuries and nearly died. That's it.
Okay.
So anyway, he uses magic on himself in this chapter.
I know a lot of people are really upset about this because they're like, the whole series premise is that he can't use his magic on himself. He has to find some way to use it on other people or some piece in an extension of it. I don't think it's necessarily an issue that, 11 chapters in, a volume in, they were like, hey, he can use magic on himself because this shonen battle manga, the main character needs to physically do things that are cool for the purposes of the story. I think that is ultimately fine to give a reason for it. I just think that it makes the series kind of boring because he doesn't do anything cool with his magic. He just gets strong.
Yep. And also, it doesn't feel like a super big moment when it does happen. We get, this fight that happens between he and one of these, like evil organization guys who's got a skull mask thing on and stuff. He and Talius and Juna have to go and hide for a little bit. But they're like, hey, we just got to get away. And Kinato's like, no, I can't let him get away with this. I'm going to stop him, even if it means sacrificing my own body, because he's really worried about the village that they're so invested in after drinking in the bar and having a fireworks show. So Talius has a flashback to, seeing other people and stuff and, having to stand up for things. And then, Jien, standing up alongside him and stuff. And so he's like, yep, okay, let's do it. Iron Fang's going to kick that guy's ass. And then Hooded Guy comes in, knocks them all through the wall. Juna catches Kinato with her boobs, presumably. And then Talius rallies the troops. Stuff floats around them. They do a bunch of attacks, attacking the Hooded Guy from all different angles, eventually letting Kinato get in close. Hooded Guy manages to block his blow with his wrapped up sword thing, but then Kinato just goes in with his other hand and just gives him the old 1-2 and punches him Deku style and knocks him through the wall, and he says, get the hell out of this town. It is a very satisfying looking punch. I like how you see the guy going Gah! When he gets punched. It's a cool expression, but that's about it. That's the only real positive I have to say about this chapter. It's just kind of like you said, kind of boring.
It's wild that we did this after the last arc, and this is the chapter that made Kinato's two guild allies seem like they're well, at least the guy obviously. Useful characters. Like,
Yes.
and look, I'm dumb. I'm very dumb. My brain's full of math at the moment. Did we establish that he has, like, the ability to change places with magic?
I think we did.
Okay, I don't remember that at all. And it felt like, it seems like it's a much cooler implementation here than whatever he used it for before. But whatever. It at this point, I'm kind of just going along with it until, I don't know, the big super evil wizard shows up and they're like, we have to defeat the Wizard King right now, which was always when we were expected to do it.
I do recall when we were, getting into this series in its early stages, that there were, some people who were like, I don't know, like, I don't really see what the appeal is. And the general answer was like, well, it's just kind of like, a fun, like, series, and it's also got, like, a really fun sense of humor. Guess what's not in this chapter? Jokes of any kind. And, like, yes, obviously, if you're going to do an adventure series, you're going to have to want to do, like, serious stuff every now and again. Feels like we haven't had a really funny joke in the series in a while at this point. So
I'm it's sad to admit, I think they've been trying to give us jokes, and I'm sad to admit, I think the mangaka might only really have been funny with that one character, and there's always the real possibility that a portion of that was the translation being maybe better than the source material. The jokes for the other characters have not been great. Hero points or whatever Riku wanted to tell him all about from iShield 21. It's fine, but it doesn't capture, the imagination I really want out of a series that felt like it had a really good sense of humor at the start. So yeah, you nailed that.
So unfortunate.
Now don't worry, if we're not getting our laughs with Kinato's magic, Nick, we might be getting it in our next new little series.
Okay, so the series that debuted last week is called Roku's House of Oddities by Atsushi Nakamura. Premise is that our main character is... Okay, how did it go? So he's part of the science club, and he and his science club teammates were supposed to do this whole thing where they were going to go and try and, like, evoke curses around the town to prove that curses aren't real, basically. Yes. And instead, all of his club mates ghosted him, and they had all their stuff to do. So he's like, fine, I'll just do it myself. And in fact, I won't just do it myself. I'll do 5 of them in one night. And he did them all wrong, but it turns out the instructions to unlock the curses were deliberately made wrong to prevent anyone from unlocking them, and he happened to stumble in the right way to actually trigger them all. His soul was supposed to be claimed in exchange for the curses being awakened, but because he got all 5 of them at once, none of them can claim him because all 5 of them have a stake on it. So now he just has these 5 spirits hang out at his house.
And they embody a lot of horror, tropes. There's the creepy schoolgirl, there's the vampire, there's the wolf, a puppet, and then, of course, the scariest one, yin yang fat mask man with hair sticking out.
Buff.
Yeah, buff yin yang man. You guys are probably familiar with his movie series Yin Yang Man.
Yin Yang Man. Hang on, let me. Yin Yang Man, rated R.
What's the Yin Yang related song that we could slow down for the remake version of the Yin Yang Man movies?
Yin Yang related songs?
Well, weren't there Yin Yang?
Why has nobody told me this?
Weren't there Yin Yang twins, Nick?
Yes.
What song did they do?
What song? Singular?
Salt Shaker, apparently. And wait, I don't know any of these songs. Nick, am I not familiar with the Yin Yang Twins?
I certainly am not, so yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess we'll find out later.
Yep. So, at the Akari house, we get like a second intro.
What the fuck? The Yin Yang Twins are not twins, nor even brothers / related? What the fuck is this? What Nue Sexorcist kind of relationship do they got?
He's my twin who's not related by blood.
That's so hot, Mr. Yin Yang. Sorry, Mr. Yang.
Please call me Yin. Mr. Yang was my not father. We get, honestly, a helpful, but let's be real, way too long recap of what happened in the first chapter. It's like the first 4 pages of this one. The whole point is that, like, look, all the curses are just hanging out at Akari's house. So we get like an extra reintroduction to everybody. I don't even know how to like recap this because it's a humor series where the humor comes from just like everyone having a very basic character to start.
Yes.
So Johan the vampire guy, he's very arrogant. Like he's got a very high opinion of himself. He's very important. That's the joke. There is Gavaudin is a giant wolf, and the joke with him is that Akari keeps on going, that dog is too big. That's the joke with him, which I will admit I thought was kind of funny when it was like a rule of 3 in the first chapter, but then it extended into this chapter. I'm like, you need more jokes now for this dog. Otherwise, why is he here?
As I say, this dog needs to have like a gambling addiction or
dogs playing poker. Yes.
Yeah, it fits. Yeah, or like this dog's like a Casanova, like they're constantly going out on dates, something like that.
Ultra, the doll, is just kind of there. She's just kind of there. I don't know what the joke with her is supposed to be. Sachiko is like, she's kind of like a nervous girl who's kind of a nerd and stuff. I get that. Anyway, they spot the not we that is next to the TV.
Yo, what's this author's name? Asushi Nakamura just showed off his fucking age. What? No one reading this is gonna know what a fucking Wii is. That would be like if like in like the 2000s we were like, is that your Atari? Oh my gosh, let's play that right now.
Well, A Gravity Boys was in 2013, so they had an established series 13 years ago. So yes, they're a little bit up there for
I say this from the vantage point of somebody in their mid-30s. No one dispute me what is considered a mid-30. That doesn't count. Mid-30 is anything 30 until 39.
Technically, anyway.
Yep.
Those are the same ages, those are the same distances from 35. So sure,
exactly.
Yeah. They can be the whole 30. So yeah.
Is it between 30 and 39? Mid-30s.
Mid-30s, yeah. Yeah, so they do some like video game references and stuff. It's like, hey, there's a Resident Evil thing. Hey, there's like a Final Fantasy kind of reference thing. And then they end up basically playing Mario Party together. And everyone has a little custom avatar, and they play a cooperative game together where they're assembling a candy house. And that's kind of it. They get really into playing the candy house building game, and eventually they manage to actually complete the mission, and they end up getting to go on the leaderboard, which this is a Wii. How is there still a leaderboard if it's a console from close to 20 years ago?
It's the one thing, like I know Nintendo shut down a lot of the online support for it, but this one game still has a server you can connect to because it's just iconic.
Yeah, and the final joke is that the vampire Johan decides to make their team name the Great King and 4 others plus 1 dog. Yep. I do not have a problem with this series. I don't know. It's just not very amusing to me. That's all.
I will say, I have enjoyed this more than the amount I enjoyed A Gravity Boys at this point in time. But that is not necessarily saying much. But it's been, I don't want to say significantly less stupid, because as you said, they've done this dog is too big joke like 7 times at this point.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just, it's felt less annoying to read because the jokes aren't quite as dumb as this mangaka's previous work. And I guess I enjoy that. Plus, the horror theme is like fun. I do kind of enjoy a little spookiness in my manga, even if this is just like a silly laugh 'em up kind of series.
Yeah, I get the feeling that like we're kind of supposed to find all the characters likable. In a sense, it reminds me of Mission Yozakura Family, in that it's like, regular guy thrown into a situation with these wacky, very weirdly visually different characters, and they, have like a family dynamic from there where a lot of them have pretty basic characterizations because there's so many of them and it's such a lighthearted series. Obviously, Yozakura Family and had like a component to it that was supposed to be more adventure based and stuff, but the humor dynamic that we see on display here reminds me of that in a way. And I can see the appeal of that, but the actual jokes haven't really been catching with me. That's just all I feel about it. All right.
Sorry, just had to check. There was a fire truck outside my house for a second.
I thought you were going to say there was a fire next to you in the room.
Hey guys, gotta get going here. My room is on fire. No, I was gonna make a joke at Mission Yozakura Family's expense, but the moment has passed, so I suppose instead we talk about 3 a.m. comedy podcasts.
Yeah, which will be the right time to make a joke at Yozakura Family's expense.
Yeah, which one of these is the Shion? Which one of these is the character who sucks?
I wish Shion didn't suck. I'm gonna go. No. I'm going back to it. I'm so upset that her character was ruined so badly by the entire second half of that series. When it realized, like, I know what I'll do with Shion. I'll put her in a sexy outfit. God. Anyway, someone hurts. Chapter number 29, Deliciousness is Love. So, Mizuo and Mime are listening to the Midnight Podcast, and there's a special segment that is on to celebrate like 2 years of the radio show called Let's All Laugh at Osera's Failures, a pre-radio event review quiz. So, the entire point is like, hey, it's going to be a quiz about one of the hosts, Mr. Osera, and we want listeners to email in with the answers to the quiz questions we're going to ask, which are going to be about him. Correct answer is the fastest to answer correctly. Fastest correct answer wins each question, and we'll call the person who gives the correct answer the fastest. So, you get a little thing where you get to be on the radio show. And so Mime gets kind of excited about that. He's like, oh my gosh, like you kind of like talk to the long hopes, and he's like, oh, I'll give it a shot. So first question has to do with like, hey, what does Osera want Koyama to pay him back with? And Osera's like, I don't remember this. And Mime, big old fucking dork that he is, answers, oh, twice cooked pork. I remember that. And Mizu's like, yo, okay, yeah, you should send that in. And Mime gets kind of awkward, and Mizu's like, what's the matter? And Mime says, oh, like sending emails into a live broadcast, like that kind of like makes me feel like really self-conscious. Like I'll be sending it. The fact that it's live right now makes me realize in my mind that it's going to be read by like a person and stuff. And so like, I kind of like want to make sure like that the phrasing is like, I want them to think I'm kind of funny. And, if I flub it in public, that'd be really awful. I need to like prepare myself. And Mizu's like, you want to talk on the phone, right? Yeah, I was like, but I don't know if I'm mentally prepared for that. Mizu was like, look, just do what you want to do. But while Mime is, agonizing over that on the radio, of course, they say, is like, oh yeah, a listener expanding seaweed answers it's twice cooked pork. And Osera's like, well, you did pay me that. That's wrong though, and stuff. But they're arguing over it and everything. And Mime now freaks out a bit because he's like, oh, I should have sent in my answers sooner. And so he gets determined. He's like trying to get into it. They ask some more questions, and as they're going, Mime is not able to answer a question. Eventually, they get one, which is, okay, there's a message written on the back of the box of the super spicy curry roux that Osura accidentally bought. What is the phrase? There's no images that are actually online that you could even look up for this. And Mime's like, I have a pack of that in my house because, you know, I bought some of the stuff that whenever they talk about it on the show. So Mizu's like, well, send that in then. And you can tell them that. Like, that can be something you can, like, kind of use as an icebreaker if they call you. And Mime's like, oh, but it's on a shelf in the kitchen, and I don't want to wake up my family because it's 3:30 a.m. on a Monday. But he gets determined. He puts on his headphones, and so he's like, all right, I'm gonna go do it. I'm gonna go to the kitchen. And Muso's like, all right, do you have an umbrella? Are you prepared? Because she just says wild things like that. Mime heads out in his sock feet to kind of sneak in. Mizo tells him to be careful like a kunoichi, which I appreciate that Mime is like, can't you at least like compare me to a guy ninja? Like, no, kunoichi, that's what you are. Mime sneaks to the kitchen, gets his like phone light out so that he can like try and find the cup noodle thing. His mom is like is also walking around trying to get in. Mizuo lets him know that. Go ahead.
I like that Cousin It from the Addams Family got to return in this manga as Mime's mom. Does she have a face?
I don't know why her face is hidden.
I was like, is this like going to be a big reveal later on where like, oh, she like, you know, unparts her hair and we're like, oh, it's Scarlett Johansson. Like, what
oh
is
my God.
this?
You have a 15-year-old son?
What about Colin Jost?
What about Colin Jost? Mizuo says like, oh, looks like someone sent in an answer via email, and Mime is like, you know, he's like right on the cusp of getting it. He's like, oh, why? And then she reports like, oh, they got it wrong. So he manages to find the packaging. He gets an image. He sends in the email, and then so he sneaks back to his room, and Mizuo says like, hey, you might get a call from the radio show, so I'll hang up for you. He's like, oh, nice little gesture. He gets back to the radio, and they report that there was a different listener who got the answer in before Mime. And they call up the listener who gave in the answer, and he basically has the exchange that, like, you know, Mime was going to have with them, which was like, oh yeah, like I was curious about it because I heard about it on the show. I ended up buying a box. That's how I knew the answer. And they talked to him about, you know, like how he's in high school and he's submitting one-liners and stuff. And Mime's like, oh man, like that could have been me, pretty much. So he gets back on the phone with Mizuo, and she's like, yeah, it looks like you're kind of too late. And Mime's like, yeah, I should have just like answered the first question. That was like my opening. I knew that one, and I had a chance to answer it. But Mizuo reassures him and says like, yeah, this was like your first time like doing like real-time submissions. So, you know, it's like, it's going to be good practice for listener Koshian when you get into it, which is a nice, you know, sentiment to have. But then Mizuo says, hey, why'd you remember the first question? And Mime says like, oh, I remember that because it was from an episode that I listened to with you. And Mizuo just kind of gets this like, you know, like teasing expression on her face, like, oh. So that's cute. I actually really, really like this chapter. This was, I felt like the first time that I understood like intrinsically like the feeling that this series kind of is going for with this, you know, listening to the show thing, because I have never done like, you know, listener submitted jokes of this type before to weird prompts, but I have done stuff like, you know, like, oh, call into the show and talk about stuff. And I have done things where like, you know, oh, we're holding a contest and the first person to answer the question correctly gets, you know, and like if you're really invested in the show, then it's a nice, you know, engagement thing. You get to feel like you're, you know, part of it and stuff. And also I really like the you know, actual acknowledgement of like, oh, it's really late at night, and Mime is, you know, like trying not to disturb his family, which in a way was weirdly nostalgic for me to read, because I used to, well, not used to, I still do keep really weird sleeping hours. But nowadays, like when I keep weird sleeping hours, like I just live with my wife, as opposed to like when I had to like avoid like making noise, or like if I wanted to go to the kitchen, I would have to be really careful and stuff. And so there was a real sense of nostalgia in this chapter for me.
Yeah, I like this one. This is definitely a fun chapter, and I'm a little distracted. I keep smelling smoke. I'm being told by my friend who's a
So sorry.
fireman. He's like, it's fine. But I am just like, I'm smelling smoke. Am I having a stroke or what's going on, bud?
What a bar! I'm smelling smoke. Am I having a stroke?
Yeah, I'm in a musical rhyming class as well. It's a new major that they're trying to take off, so.
Just rhyming class.
Yeah, it's a tough class, but Professor Yang has been really good about keeping me kind of set in my ways,
Please,
focusing.
Professor Yang was my not brother.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi.
Yes, it's the continuation of the fight with Helzabobo. In fact, that's the chapter title. Kiyoshi Harai versus Helzabobo, chapter 88. As Kiyoshi just conjured up a sword, cut Bobo apart after Bobo had told him, like, hey, my power works by, I like loan shark out my power and then I take it back and it gives me a huge power boost that also regenerates me. You have to basically kill me 100 times. So Kiyoshi just killed him and it's like 99 more to go, which admittedly, pretty badass. So Bobo is like, yeah, all right, well, let's see what you've got. And immediately Kiyoshi just cuts his head off again, 98. And so Bobo's like, are you really just going to try and exercise me 100 times? And Kiyoshi says, yep, blast him apart. So I do really like the way the Kiyoshi has responded. It's like, all right, I have to kill you 100 times.
Look, Kiyoshi has not always hit very hard in while, we joke a lot of like, oh, well, this is really Sosuke's series that just happens to be named after another character. This was a moment where I was like, oh yeah, Kiyoshi can rule sometimes, actually, if you do it right. Because this is a baller-ass move where he's like, you have the energy of 100 lives? Guess I'm taking them down one by one, bitch. And then he tries to do some big cool power-up, and then he just cuts his head off again. He's like, 96, now what? Fuck.
Yeah, Bobo is like, oh my god, this guy's so cool because, again, he's like a Kiyoshi fan who wants to kill him. So he's like, all right, Black Lightning Demon Sword, let's sword fight this out. They exchange blows. Kiyoshi cuts his head off again. They keep on going. Bobo, like, blasts him with his mouth as it's flying through the air. Kiyoshi manages to tank it. Bobo picks his head up and he's like, all right, yes, if I just rely on my ability to revive you, that will leave me on the defensive. So I do need to do something else. So I'm going to do that. And so he uses black back again. And he's like, all right, I'm calling in 100 deaths this time. And he admits to himself, like, this is going to cost me 10 revivals, but I'm going to be twice as powerful by doing this now. And he says, I'm going to make you end up in that coffin. And Kiyoshi, as he's being punched, is like, what is he talking about? What coffin?
I don't know what this thing is.
Because he doesn't know that.
He's like, I've been privy to this guy's inner thoughts, so I don't know what this coffin is.
Bobo starts to press the advantage. Kiyoshi realizes that he's starting to lose feeling in his body because, hard fight. Bobo knocks him around a bit, and he's like, oh, you finished counting down already? Gathers up a big, huge ball of lightning, casts it out towards Kiyoshi in a huge, like, Gallic gun blast, and he says, you came to protect the Roth territory. Unfortunately for you, I'm kind. You can disappear alongside it. And he thinks, like, yeah, will your final expression be one of agony? I have to know. Kiyoshi's got his eyes closed. He's just gathering himself again. And of course, Yamada is observing the fight from a distance, and he thinks, it's okay. Kiyoshi won't lose. And Kiyoshi thinks to himself, back then, it happened because I got absorbed in the fight trying to protect everyone. But I should be able to do it myself now. And he remembers word that he got from Dr. Hitsuki, which was, once he was fully recovered, his power would be even stronger. Though he also remembers what Akari told him, which was like, hey, don't overdo it, because you don't want to lose your precept power again. But the cross on his chest starts to glow, and he unlocks cross crest mode, and he has caught the blast of black lightning and just is kind of spinning it like a fidget spinner almost in his hand. And he knocks it back towards Bobo, who's like, "Oh shit, I'm dead!" And it blasts a hole through the wall behind him. Kiyoshi then recalls something that Helzebub told him when he was, helping him out way back before this fight began, which was, Bobo wasn't always like this. The day his mother died, he changed. Please save him. Which I don't know about that. I don't know if we need to save everyone in Bub's family, but okay. Bobo's down. He's bleeding from the mouth. Kiyoshi demands that he get up and he says, "Gather up everything you've got and bring it." New power up for Kiyoshi. Some cool battle stuff in this chapter. Pretty good.
This chapter ruled. I really, really liked this. This was an energy that I hope Kiyoshi can more regularly tap into, because it has an element innately to it that is very cool. This idea of, I am going to take down this incredibly strong opponent 100 times. And though I don't expect us to watch all 100 of them, we are going to watch them slowly happen. This isn't like Urza against the 100 monsters where it just happens all at once. We are counting down through it. There are changes to the rhythm as we go through. It's a sword fight. There's all these things. And then we get the little element of added bonus at the end that there's more to Bobo than we probably understand. And this isn't going to be kind of the straightforward fight that it was with Astaroth, for example. And I really, really enjoyed that. I thought that was a great way for Kiyoshi to give this arc more depth and more structure. And I'm just really excited to see how these pieces all kind of culminate and come together.
Yeah, it's been a fun fight, which is... It's nice to have a fun Kiyoshi fight again. It feels like it's been a long time since that's happened. All right. Marriagetoxin, chapter 160. So we cut from that whole thing with the important characters to Toshiro fighting Tokuro and Nijuichiro, the monkey guy and the gorilla guy. And so Toshiro's whole thing is that he has the ability to get the abilities of other beast users and stuff because he collects blood and then puts it into himself. But immediately Tokuro is like, Nijuichiro's the real gorilla. He's just a fraud. And so Nijuichiro just uppercuts Toshiro in the gut. He's like, yeah, absorb this. Boom. And that didn't work out so well. Toshiro in narration says, "I have always despised the bat. I have harbored nothing but hatred for this creature. So I swore to take down the fools who gave me this beast and wielded all the power I had towards that goal. Byakko was nothing more than a useful woman I found to serve my own ends. I have no obligation whatsoever to protect her from this monkey brat and his cohorts. But..." He flashes back to when he and Garo were climbing out of the pit, and where he explained, look, man and beast, one in mind and heart, is the essence of being a beast user. By forming a strong bond with our partners, we draw out their abilities. I've spent all this time shutting out this guy's voice, so I'm not really in that camp. I'm like Zaraki with his sword that he doesn't talk to. See, except I do it because I'm an asshole and not because I want to have a fun fight. But Garo points out, yeah, but you and the bat go back a long way, right? If you have something you want to protect, don't you think that little guy would lend you its power? And in the present, the bat goes, as Toshiro is knocked into the ground. And then Tokuro is like, all right, finish him off. And then Toshiro turns into Man-Bat. He's got bat wings coming out his elbows now. And he's got one that's looped around Byakko, and the other is he's flying through the air and his eyes are all glowy and stuff. So Tokuro's like, punch him more. He's still a loser. But Toshiro, he am fast now. He darts around, he slices up stuff with his claws, and he's dodging all the punches and everything. And Tokoro's like, why can't you hit him? And we get narration that says, bats retain a finger-like structure on their wings, and they can be controlled at will to execute flight trajectories that are extremely difficult to predict. That's why. Okay. So Tokoro gets fed up with Nichirichiro taking a beating. So he's like, all right, fine. Monkeys. Kaleidoscopic monkey mimic, which he can do. He can cast shadow clones with his monkeys. He just can't.
That's just a thing monkeys can do. That's kind of like one of their established things, so it makes sense. Like echolocation and bats, monkeys have been able to duplicate for a very long time now.
Yes. So Toshiro uses echolocation, is like, those are all monkeys. That's the real one. And he dodges Nichirichiro's blow and then jumps over him and smashes his head into the ground and knocks out him and Tokoro. Boom. And then Byakuya rushes over and glomps him. And Toshiro's like, what do you think you're doing? Let go. And Byakuya goes, no! And Toshiro says, all right, fine. And so Byakuya is just like draped around his neck. And Toshiro thinks, so this is the source of Gero's strength. What a troublesome burden. Decide to shoulder it, and you can no longer afford to lose. That's how it is. That goddamn Gero, you just might be the one to beat down Tonako's wolf. And we cut back over to where, Gero is facing off against Tonako in the lightning storm outside.
Yep.
Quinn, if we are supposed to care about Byakuya's bond with Toshiro, maybe she should have a character.
What do you mean, Nick? She is like unconscious right now. So, and she's really tired. And I think she was like a maid before or something. I don't remember her. I don't actually remember her from that arc.
Yeah. Look, it's not that important, but if you're going to make me feel like it's supposed to be important, then build it up like it's supposed to be important. That's all I say. So.
I'm fine ultimately with Toshiro getting like a redemption arc and giving more expansion of his character. It makes a lot of sense. Plus, it's a series that really doesn't have a whole lot of like true antagonists. Most people get beat up and then realize they're like, I kind of should change my ways. So like that is ultimately fine, and it's good that we handle this here before we presumably move into the climax of the other fight. But yeah, I don't think that these two have that interesting of a connection. It feels like there needs to be something more in their relationship.
Yeah. Speaking of relationships with nothing interesting in them, Nue Sexorcist chapter 141.
Can't imagine how
It'll be fine.
How can that possibly connect to Nue Sexorcist?
Someone has just killed a dragon thingy. That's the shot that we open up Nue Sexorcist on. God damn you for having cool color full page spreads.
Nick,
fucking serious.
If you could get that on a shirt, would you?
Yes. Look at it. There's so many swords in that dragon skull. Okay, so Nue is holding a conference of Gakuro's harem. Let's just call him that. And she says, hey, all right, we beat Soranaki. The resurrection of the Hyo, however, has accelerated, and it will probably be the next one's going to get resurrected in no time, so I've called this meeting. Gekka's like, I have to be an important character now, so I am just all over this. Nobody else gets a line. Everybody shut up. Let Gekka get all the lines.
Well, she's the cool new character, Nick, so gotta give her the cool new stuff to do.
When was the last time Suo and Fujino did anything?
I think the very interesting question is, there's another girl in this room, and I don't know who she is. The one who is in between when we get like the first, I guess, full shot of all of them on page 5. Whoever the one is between Gakuro and Gekka.
Yeah.
Is that the spider girl?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. It might be. It's kind of hard to tell because she doesn't have her boobs out.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of her defining characteristics. So Gekka's trying to get her stuff over, basically. And then Nue's like, because they're having this conference like in Gakuro's bedroom while he's trying to recover from, the battle that he was in. But then Gakuro wakes up because Gekka stabs him with her head tendrils. Is that what happens? Like, does she just headbutt him? Like, I don't know.
Oh, she just kind of like headstands on him, and he has to wake up because it's
right.
Yeah.
So Nue tells everyone, like, all right, the next Hyo is the Dragon King because he's got super combat strength.
Well, Nick, we should make sure we get his name right. This is going to be a significant character. King
Karibo.
Yeah. King Karibo.
His arms can shatter diamonds. His body is impervious to both molten iron and curses. He can run at the speed of sound. His reflexes and instincts make him seem practically omnipotent. It's safe to say his hollow weapon is the ultimate. That's not a helpful thing to say. Like, what does that mean? What does it do?
It's the strongest.
It's the ultimate.
It's the strongest.
It runs to the ring and shakes the ropes and gets gas before the match starts. And then says bad things about gay people.
Yeah, and its finisher was an atomic splash, I think.
It was running splash.
Yeah. Yes. Well, if you had atomic before it, things sound less awful. Like if you're like Hogan's finisher was leg drop, you're like pathetic. It was the atomic leg drop. You're like, well, that sounds nuclear and devastating.
Can you imagine if every time Hulk Hogan sat down with his legs stretched out in the middle of the arena, it just
small mushroom cloud erupted out of his leg.
It's like a really, really tiny.
Yeah, it's not a bad one. It's not too bad. But the Geiger scale does go up a little bit every time it goes off.
Everyone who has ever wrestled Hulk Hogan has radiation sickness. Let's be real. So everyone, I almost said everyone reacts to that, but no one reacts to that. We get a shot of everyone's faces as they all just stare straight ahead. And Gakuro is like, oh, everyone, man, hearing that makes me feel hopeless. I hope everybody's okay. And Gekka's right next to him, and she's like, I gotta get my character over. I'm eating because I'm wacky. I'm not concerned about this concerning thing. Mm-hmm. And then Nue is like, this will be your first time dealing with this Hyo, won't it? You should listen properly. And Gekka's like, he sounds pretty tough. She's got dumplings. Oh man, what a character. And then she's like, but if I'm here, it'll all be fine. I'll get the enemy on the ropes, and Gakuro will finish him off. I swear we'll protect everyone. And all the other girls are there.
Whoa, hey. Girl, you're new here, I understand, but this is a series where if you are a woman, you are allowed to be relevant for one arc in this series and then no more. So start sitting down and getting ready for the next girl to take over.
Gekka, my advice to you is to, when you go swimming, don't wear a bikini because your top will come off and then you won't be able to do anything. You'll just be stuck.
If you just never have a bikini top, it can never be stolen from you and you can never be afraid of the modesty.
Yeah. So Gekka says this, and then Nue says, yes, you and Gakuro are the keystone of our offensive. We'll be counting on you. We cut to all the other girls in the group so they can say nothing. They're just all there to say nothing.
Why isn't Machiru there? I understand this is supposed to be like a battle meeting, but wasn't she also an exorcist?
Machiru?
Yeah, or Machida, whatever her name is.
Sujita, the bunhead girl?
No, the girl from the last arc who was getting turned into a monster after she got kidnapped.
She is there.
Which one is she?
The one with the short black hair.
I thought that was Shitotsu.
That is Shitotsu. The other one with short black. Oh, wait, she's not there. You're right. Where is she? Hang on. No, hang on. No, she is there. She was there.
The manga also got confused by how many black hairs.
She's not in the second group shot, okay? Hang on. Does she just stop showing up for the meeting? Hang on. I'm going to cycle through this real quick. What the fuck? Why did she just leave?
She was like, I'm not that interested in this.
He's like, I'm leaving.
You guys, if this guy sounds really tough, I'm out.
But I'm not going to say anything as I leave, because that would mean I have a line in this chapter. But Gakuro, however, this is so weird. So Nue says, "Oh yes, Gekka and Gakuro, you're the keystone of our offensive. We'll be counting on you." No one says anything, and then Gakuro says, "No, we'll all fight together. All my companions are strong. They'll definitely be an asset. I won't let anyone die. Let's fight together." And no one else says anything. He's just, you could be having this conversation with the three of you and a bunch of cardboard cutouts. Anyway, so
You're
Gekko
not
is
wrong. These girls really lose their ability to vocalize and have like thoughts and feelings once the arc they're relevant for kind of ends.
Look, I don't have a problem with the general appeal of what Nue Sexorcist is. I understand the appeal of loser guy gets superpowers, the more sexy girls like him. But the whole point of that is that the sexy girls should keep liking him and being around. Anyway, so
When you think about it, Nick, Nue Sexorcist and 100 girlfriends who really, 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 really like you aren't that different of series after all.
Look, at least 100 girlfriends pays lip service to having the girls stay relevant after their main arc. At least they have a joke that they can fall back on repeatedly. Anyway, Gekka says that she likes Gakuro's thought, and the comrades really should live and fight together. Then an earthquake happens. Gekka immediately realizes what's going on, and she says to Nue, "Hey, surround the top of the far eastern tower with a cursed Nidus canceling barrier, and do it in 15 seconds. I'll get there by then." And she immediately busts through the window, runs along a rooftop, jumps over. There's a tower over there. She smashes into the tower. She's like, "I'm there." And Nue's like, "Well, you're 5 seconds earlier than you said you were going to be. Anyway, barrier, blah." And so
that's how you know she's cool, Nick. She's like, "I'm going to be there in 15 seconds. I promise." And she's even faster than that. Like, she's so fast.
Yeah, she's even faster than the speed experts. It's almost like our other speed experts don't even have to be here anymore. So Gakuro says, "Nue, what's going on?" And Nue says, "It looks like Raisei's been working far ahead of schedule." And then a figure comes storming in, and he's got creepy mouths. That's his thing, creepy mouths. Admittedly, a lot of this guy's whole aesthetic is really cool. He's got hands that come out of portals, and then bodies that come out of portals that he uses as stepping stones and stuff. Every now and again, a new mouth opens in a creepy place. He uses the hands that come out of weird places to like pull him through the air and stuff, and that's how he gets around. I mean, admittedly, it's very like, Robin coded and stuff, but it's like aesthetically different enough that it's like, okay, he's got his whole thing. Another mouth opens in a portal, and like a big like chompy thing comes out that he pulls a sword out of. And as he does so, he says, "Hollow weapon release." And it was like, that's not possible. That's Dragon King Kuribo's hollow weapon. And it's
the ultimate
Kuribo, the Kuribo ultimate weapon. And it's a super big sword that looks really hard to wield. And it's the hardiest, heaviest hollow weapon in history. One that shatters others and can't be blocked. The Kuribo Black Dragon Sword, which sounds like an actual Yu-Gi-Oh card. Like that sounds like just a couple of things that were in the Waking the Dragons arc, honestly. So Nue says, "Why does Kasha have that? Because this isn't Kuribo, it's Kasha." And Kasha says, "Can you tell, first contractor? Dragon King Kuribo has been consumed by me." So are we going to have one less Hyo to deal with? Or is this
well, then
guy
is this all of the Hyo then? Because we had Suzuku, or whatever her name was. We just had Soranaki.
Right.
Then there's Gasha Doka 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 Doko.
Yes.
And then this guy. And then
yeah, so I think that this is just like
Kuribo.
a replacement. Right. I think this is like a replacement for the Hyo, I believe.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, he's there. Honestly, some of the stuff when he shows up is actually, like I said, kind of aesthetically cool. But yeah, more Nue Sexorcist bullshit. That's all.
We have fun here, but sometimes it's just kind of fine. And that's how it goes sometimes.
Akane-banashi is where we're going to wrap things up this
Yes.
week because there is no One Piece this week. So we're getting story
And
202.
it's not like anything big happened in One Piece recently anyway.
Nah, absolutely not. It's time for the reveal of Akane's God of Death, which is just a little guy.
Just a little guy.
Just a little. And so, Akane acts out the reaction to this like very cartoonish God of Death. And by just being like, oh, get out of here. Go away. Get out of here. And then the little God of Death says, don't make such a racket. It's scary.
It's one of those things where, like, I wish I could see what Akane's face she's making during this scene is. Does she look like this?
So Hikaru reacts to this by going like, "Oh, is she playing it for laughs?" Like Zensho did say that was an option, so I guess she went for like a comical God of Death. But then, Akane keeps on going through the story, and is playing the God of Death, who says like, "Hey, don't be so cold. You've got plenty of life ahead of you. No matter how you try to die, a human being's not snuffing it while your lifespan is still long and hale. And yet you've got no money, no job, no good looks. Oh well, my condolences." And she starts to kind of like smile, and there are certain expressions which, when done in a cartoonish style, are a little creepier than they would be on a normal person. And this is starting to show a little hint of that. And Akane is like, "Oh, you're creepy." But then the God of Death says, "Not that there's much point in saying so, but there's actually a deep, unbreakable bond that ties you and me together. You can't escape it." And we get this really creepy page turn to the God of Death having a very demented face with two big teeth, honestly. And Hikaru's like, "Oh, so the cuteness is just a cover over an eerie alien void. The comedy is only a feint. Akane's God of Death is a horror story." And then Kendama, the guy who is still carrying around a sign that says, "I'm Iken's apprentice, Kendama," starts to laugh next to Hikaru. And Hikaru turns and is like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And Kendama's like, "What? Oh, I'm sorry." And Hikaru's like, "Was that supposed to be funny?" And Kendama's like, "I mean, it's a comedy, right? It's funny. Like, she keeps on pushing away the God of Death despite it being all playful and stuff. It's funny." And Hikaru's like, "He thinks this is a comedy?" And then she realized, like, oh, it's not one or the other. And she looks around the audience and she realizes they're intimidated, laughing, charmed, all from the same story. Completely different reactions. I've never seen this before. An audience in a state of pure chaos. And we get this wider shot of the audience, and there's, a whole range of reactions. There's someone who looks like he's going to be sick next to a woman who is chuckling to herself. And there's, just a whole bunch of different reactions all through the audience. And Hikaru's like, what the hell are you doing? Roku, who, of course, was there when Akane came up with this, thinks to himself, yeah, she's being faithful to the God of Death mindset that she grasped. She's not trying to make anyone laugh or frighten them. She's just tossing it out there, deferring, leaving each person to absorb the work in their own way. Her narration can sound either humorous or ghastly. Each listener paints their own mental picture as they hear it, and in response to what they seek, the God of Death transforms. It contains a plethora of masks, all visible at once. Which leads to this awesome hexadecimal from Reboot shot of Akane surrounded by all these different expressions for the God of Death. And Roku is like, yeah, this is possible through the unique nature of the God of Death. And at some point I recall someone saying, the mark of a professional is to deliver exactly what you intend to. So by that definition, letting the audience decide means this does not meet the mark of a professional. But if you're only ever capable of producing what you aim for, you'll never be something greater than a professional. No kanban. Respond to what's before your eyes. Find your way to the core of the craftsman's style. If you can do that, and then we get the advice that we had gotten from, I've forgotten his name. Shomei, right? Which was your performance will be elevated into a one-of-a-kind phenomenon. Yay!
Yeah. I'm gonna need to see how the rest of this goes. I'm not sure her Rakugo is so good. Everyone is having a completely different reaction to it, and thus that is the magic of it. Works 100%. Mostly just because when I think of something that is sort of that nebulous and intended tone, it's usually very niche. And I do think there's a real reality that Connie does not win this battle or whatever. But even then, I don't know if this necessarily feels like a giant evolution of what she was going for. I need to see how it kind of continues from here, because perhaps there's some way that she pulls it all together at the end, and that's the goal that they're going for. But in this moment right now, I'm like, oh, well, this seems like it'd be really confusing as an audience member if I'm crying in terror and the person next to me is like, this is so, like, I feel like that would be really disconcerting as an audience member to my enjoyment of the performance.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I mean, obviously, we've only seen the part of the story where the god of death is just kind of introduced. We haven't seen like the action of like, you know, the of the main character, you know, becoming a doctor and then like having to go into the cave and stuff, which is I think going to be like the real clincher in terms of the effectiveness of Akane's story, is going to be that final scene where she's trying to prevent the candle from going out.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. I think that you might very well have nailed it with she might not necessarily win this contest. This could be suggesting from Rokuro's analysis that the fact that she is aiming for this means that this could be something that has the potential to be like an Okanban level specialty, but maybe she hasn't fully mastered it just yet.
Yeah.
And that kind of feels like something that Shomei would have left her with as well as advice. Like, hey, you haven't fully, you know, like mastered this, but yes, you came here and accomplished what you came to accomplish, basically.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We shall see. But Nick, tremendous work on your part to get us through this recap. We are done. We've covered everything in the recap for this week. And now all that is left is to talk about our favorites this week, our favorite episode or our favorite series, and MVP. Would you like to do the honors?
Yeah, I guess that I will do that. I think that I am going to name my favorite series as Kiyoshi, because, hey, continuing a really fun fight. I will give a little honorable mention to Someone Hertz, like I said, for the very like strong feeling of like actual connection and nostalgia that I had to the chapter. But Kiyoshi, just those initial like 6 pages alone, I think could have clinched it, with Kiyoshi being super badass in reaction to Bobo's declaration, like, you have to kill me 100 times. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna get started then.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, does Professor Peanuts want to give his picks for MVP and chapter of the week?
Which one gives him the most food?
Yeah, he doesn't really care about anything except that. I'm going to give my favorite series to Drawn to the Flame, because I really, really liked it as a whole sort of premise and you know, one-shot chapter. And then I'm going to give my character of the week to Kiyoshi from Exorcist Kiyoshi, because he was really, really cool. I love that he was like, I'm just going to take out 100 of your lives, one after the other. And even every power up, he's like, all right, cool. It's 96. I'm clowning your ass. You can't stop me. I'm too strong. And I thought that was extremely cool. So yeah, good stuff from a lot of series this week. but those are.
By the way, my MVP, which
Oh, sorry, I spoke over
this
you.
may be that's okay. This may be jumping the gun a little bit, but I'm going to give it to Akane's God of Death. Because
Oh.
it does make a very strong impression with there's the weird cutesiness. It's how it's like kind of like timid, and then it's really creepy. It leaves an impression on you right away because of that contrast. And also, there weren't a lot of great chapters this week, so there's that too.
Yeah, that did play a part into it. The audience, by the way, picked Akane-banashi as its chapter of the week, and then Toshiro from Marriagetoxin as the character of the week. So,
I wish I cared about him.
happens to us all. All right. Well, that is going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap this week, everybody.
Yes.
I hope everybody enjoyed themselves.
Thank you all for joining us. We record the show here on twitch.tv/RoloT. We do it live on Tuesdays. Tuesday is the day currently. We usually start around 7:30 to 8 Eastern time in the evening, but if you want to know exactly when the stream goes live, you can follow us on BlueSky, RoloT, Nick F Time, Weekly Manga Recap. Also follow WMR Votes so that you can participate in the audience polls for favorite series and MVP. We also have a Discord server, which will be posted wherever this gets, posted to. Join that community. We have a great community that talks about the chapters as they come out. You can use it to find the Google Doc that tracks all the statistics and previous recommendations that have been covered on the show. We also are on in audio form on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com, on iTunes, on Spotify, and in video form, we are on YouTube, youtube.com/weeklymangarecap, where we have an opening sequence by Milo Jack Stillitz and Bree Cheddar. And we occasionally also have title cards by Steve Man. Check out Steve Man's art by looking for Steve Man art all across the internet. Ninja X3i helps us in a whole bunch of ways in keeping track of stuff for the show. Thank you for all your help. In every regard, Ninja.
Yes. And that is going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap this week. Professor Peanuts, do you have anything you want to say before we head out? No, he just wants me to feed him. He's actually very upset. He's like, why are you still talking and not feeding me right now? So
I can tell you're late feeding me because I've decided it.
Yeah, so that's going to do it, everybody. We'll catch you next time right here. Weekly Manga Recap. Goodbye.